Welcome to the 2013-2014 awards ceremony. I just think we should say some thank yous to some folks who are here. And one person we've got to say thank you to is Karen Reynolds, who is our administrative assistant in this division. I want you to know that when you mysteriously see food appear, it is because she has us in mind all the time. And whenever there's an event that something's been left over, it can be cookies, it can be donuts, it can be anything.
Wingspan will eat it.
Yeah, it's not the students, it's like this entity. Wingspan will eat it. Yeah.
She knows that you are all starving college students.
Yeah. And also, she's so helpful, it's almost as if when we say ask Karen, it's one word, you know. So somebody's going to say da 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 da, ask Karen. So we know. Yeah. So we thank you so much for all this. And she's the one that came up with the menu for today. So I think that's good. Yeah. So, let's see, who else do we have? Ty. Ty's one of our instructors.
I don't even know how I got invited to
Ty teaches our digital camera basics class, and we're just so happy to have somebody of his caliber take. You don't make money teaching adjunct here,
No.
and so we're just so thrilled, and thank you, Ty, for being part of that.
Yeah, thanks,
Okay.
And then
Jose, yeah.
You looked right over the top.
I did. Yeah, I did.
And Jose has been really helpful with us for us this year with doing a lot of things with broadcast. Was heavily involved with getting our first live Channel 11 basketball broadcast off the ground, and we really appreciate all the time that he put in helping us out with that.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Okay. First Amendment. The freedoms contained in the First Amendment have paid extraordinary dividends for American society. In addition to shoring out democratic principles and ensuring freedom of faith, the First Amendment has nurtured the arts, arguably the most vibrant and diverse in the world. Although the First Amendment refers specifically to the freedoms of speech and press, it in fact encompasses a wide range of expression beyond publications and the spoken word. All art forms, including plays, music, dance, film, literature, poetry, and visual arts, enjoy considerable First Amendment protection. Ken Paulson, President, Freedom Forum and News. The Howard Major First Amendment Guardian Award. Wingspan created this award in 2010 to be given when someone or group supports one of the First Amendment five freedoms: speech, press, religion, assembly, and petition, from infringement at Landing County Community College. The Howard Major First Amendment Guardian Award goes to Kathleen Urban, the interim vice president at ACC and former Arts and Humanities dean. And
Former how many things? Right.
oh, I don't even know. She was the dean of health and sciences for a while. She was dean of business and ag for a while. She's been interim of almost every position that you'd imagine. And she was also a paralegal instructor here for quite some time, and was very good at that. Kathleen, as dean of arts and humanities, was a protector of First Amendment rights. She encouraged and she was sort of an advocate for us at Wingspan. She said that, in an interview with me, she said that students in the paper have to have that real world experience, and that she thinks that it's our job to be, it's our job to say what needs to be said. And
you know, Howard was so much into the marketplace of ideas, and I know you are too. And so because of that, the students have given you the Howard Major First Amendment Guardian Award.
Oh.
Yes, as she says, the Big Five.
Big five.
See, we got to remember the Big Five. And we gave it to you for the body of work that you have just, I mean, from beginning to end. This has been a lifelong thing that you've done. It's not one time you've supported the First Amendment. It's for everything that you've done. I make it real big. And We can't believe you're retiring.
I can't either because I haven't gotten it done yet.
So, go ahead.
This, a small token, and that's a paperweight, and that's actually typed from Roz's collection, and of course KU.
Exactly.
And then we also will be adding your name
Oh,
to the award
wonderful.
that stays
Well,
here.
I'm
in the
very
newsroom.
honored. Thank you very much. Very cool of you.
Thank you.
They will have it's based on whatever desk I have.
That's right. So now we're just going to do a year in review, if you will. And the first thing right off the bat that happened this year was we went to the Associated Collegiate Press. This is the largest organization for college media. And we took our October issue to this conference that was down in New Orleans. And we took first place, best in show of all two-year colleges in the nation. So we are pretty proud about that. And this week, we finally got in the mail our award. The irony of all of this was that we had to leave early on that Sunday morning before they could.
So you weren't there to
Yeah.
receive that.
And the irony is that we spent 5 hours in the New Orleans airport because the flight was delayed, so we could have been there, if we'd only known. So anyway, and I had to buy a new shelf, okay? 'cause we
You guys are so good, we need more shelving.
Yeah.
Oh, good job. Good job.
The next award, we just, and a lot of you don't even know about this because we just found this out a couple days ago. We've won first place for Special Merit. That's the highest award in the nation from the American Scholastic Press Association. This is the 24th year in a row that we've received this award. And it's pretty exciting. There was only one other first place with Special Merit, and it was the Sun out of Southwestern. It's the big school in San Diego.
Yes.
Yeah, Norman's,
Huge
like
school.
40,000 enrollment, and so we shared first place with Special Merit. But also what was exciting is an editorial that Suzanne wrote last year took best or outstanding editorial in the nation. And Suzanne, of course, you put it on our Twitter account, is that what you did, or Facebook account? And she knew about it immediately.
Yes.
So, yeah, so
Within
it's no
moments of it
surprise.
being posted,
Yeah.
Suzanne sent me a text message saying, "So,
Yeah.
when were you going to tell me about this?" I just found out.
One of the things that I reread this, and I said, why did they look at this being so good? What we were looking at was the class schedule, and the administration had cut a lot of classes before let me back up. The booklet had already been put together, the catalog for the bulletin had already been put together, but by the time registration came around, they had closed a lot of classes, so you could look at the bulletin, but it really wasn't telling you what you needed to do. And we were trying to find out how many classes had been cut, and as I recall, no one could tell us a number. So she hand counted all 1,000, whatever it was. And I think when I reread that, I thought that's part of it, is that we really
That's what
did
those
the work
tabs
for it.
represent.
Yeah. You didn't say classes being cut, you had data to show how many classes. So congratulations.
That became part of the design, because as you can
Yeah.
see there, all the tabs that you see, those are representative of all of the classes that had been cut. She put a tab in on each spot where a class had been cut. But this is a pretty exciting award to me, because we've been, of course, working to build more opportunities for students in other courses in broadcasting. And so this award was pretty exciting for us. We earned a Gold Circle Award for digital media, again competing with universities, and this is given by Columbia University. And this was for a package that Casey Orr created. And this was last spring, and he got second place. First place was the University of Pennsylvania. Third place, Umber College, which is a large school as well, and the University of Houston, Baylor University. So you can imagine. And Casey, it was pretty funny. This was really, he just did like a kind of like a one-man show. I mean, this makes it appear that he, we had a crew following him around. He was his own cameraman. So, but he did a really great job, and it was a very nice news package.
And I just want to say one thing about Baylor, because being a graduate of TCU, this just delights me that we are beating Baylor, okay?
One of those schools we like to beat.
In Texas, the University of Texas always said, they had little bumper stickers that said the university, okay? And then Baylor, which is a Baptist university, they used to have bumper stickers in green and it said the THEE University. Okay? And so they are just down the road from TCU, and so we are, yeah. I just think it's great. So just wanted to, you will note that we,
Just to rub that
yeah.
in.
Baylor comes up again in this slideshow. Just
Yes, this is.
Okay.
I'm starting to feel sorry for him.
Yeah, the Society of
We're picking
Professional
on.
Journalists is the largest organization in America for media, both print and broadcast, as well as students and professionals. They have a region, 9, which includes Colorado, Wyoming, Utah, and New Mexico. And in 2014, for the academic, but not the calendar year 2013, we competed with four-year schools, and we won 11 awards. Of these awards, if you will notice, any first place awards that we won in the region will go on to national competition. And we should hear next week how the national competition went. So, you guys, this is like huge. The first place best all-around non-daily student newspaper. This is competing with four-year schools. Went to Wingspan, and these were the 3 issues that we put in. Do I have who the second place was? Is that on my next
was-
slide?
Probably Baylor.
Okay, no, it's not Baylor. They're not in our. But
Well, I know that we were
That-
competing with
yeah.
Metro,
Yeah, and
which is
Metro-
a very good school.
and second place went to Metropolitan State University in Denver. So that's pretty big deal.
Bigger school, lots of students. So I'm
And-
sure that they're not happy that we beat them.
And this,
Yeah.
yeah.
Exactly.
And this first place, we won this first place last year, also competing in four-year schools. So, yeah, I'm feeling good. Casey won first place in general news reporting. This was for a story that he did on the bond election and how they were looking at dorm students to register, have them register to vote. And then Suzanne, this is so important for you to track on, because it took us a bit to track on it as well. You won first place in editorial writing. But what was interesting about this is the big schools and the little schools were, and little by SBJ standards is 10,000 and below, okay? Your editorials were first place of all divisions. That means BYU, CSU, CU, all of these were competing.
All right, I got wrap it into my friend's face later.
Yeah. And these are the 3 that we submitted. Brooke won second place for her reporting of Obamacare, and no one would talk to you about this story, right? It was one of her very first stories. Wait, am I right on that?
Yeah, I think it was my second story I've ever.
Yeah, and so we're just thrilled for you to win second place on this. And of course, she localized it, how do LCCC students get Obamacare. And then Dan Herring won second place for sports writing. I thought this was a very tender story. Maddie, I don't know how your volleyball folks felt about this story, but it was, the volleyball team went through one coach change after another.
I've had 8 coaches since I started.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I counted this weekend.
Wow.
I've had 8.
And
Yeah.
it just is, it's a lovely story, I think, of how the team pulled together and survived all that, and yeah. So, and I think what's interesting is the sports story, you know, that didn't win, it's not the game story, it's the people behind, and that's what we always have to do, is because we don't have that daily kind of thing coming out, we have to look at the story behind the people. And then Mandy Neely won first place for column writing, and this was all college students want to write columns, so this is a big deal here. And these were the three that we submitted. One in particular is the one at the bottom left. Was a very poignant story of enduring an abusive relationship in high school, and the local safe house asked if they could use this story because it was so poignant. And then, of course, I just love her one about her buying a car for the first time, and everything that could go wrong went wrong. Right? And Dan Herring won second place. These are the three that he had. And of course, as we know, the two of them got married in the Wingspan office about a month or two ago. So
I love telling the story. Some of you are probably tired to hear me talk about this one. But this was actually a really interesting situation where we had a center spread. We wanted to build a center spread around the content, but we didn't have a design. And Jennifer, it's her story, it's her layout, she literally was sitting and staring at the screen for an hour on work night, trying to figure out what to do with this page. And then we started talking her through it, and we had wanted to use the chairs, the idea with this, of course. And she said, we asked her if she had anything. She said, well, I had this photograph that I took during the photo walk back in the fall. And we had all seen the photograph, and as soon as she said that, we all just went, oh my God, why did it take us so long to think of that photograph?
And this was taken at Perfect Ranch,
yes,
in a barn.
It was upstairs in one of the barns. And so, of course, we plugged that in. The photo was beautiful. It made a beautiful layout, and she's won several awards.
Yeah.
Wow. Brooke took first place in general news photography, and it's for the photograph on the lower right, a really nice shot of a welding student here on campus. And this was from that same issue where we had the empty chairs last semester, or last spring, excuse me. And again, we had a kind of this different thing. How do we illustrate this? And
the end of this semester.
And Dan and Casey went out and shot some photographs with one of our ag students and put this illustration together. It was and I'm really the last three slides with the photography. Of course, I love every award that we get, but I was particularly excited about these three because these were, of course, in photography categories, and we were competing against Northwest College, which has a very good photography program, and we beat the pants off of them this year. So, and another one I'm excited. Again, this is a multimedia, and I think this one's exciting because there's all kinds of things that went into this. This was video we shot in the studio. Brooke did a stand-up in our virtual studio.
You can see Sky's River.
Yeah, this is downtown Cheyenne. So this is actually just one piece of it. This is what we're using to illustrate it. But Brooke did a stand-up for us when the election was over. Suzanne was updating an information graphic all night long as the votes came in. I'm not sure who else was here. Was Kyle? Were you here as well?
I was here.
Derek was here. Yeah. So
well,
lots
I wrote
of
the
people.
script for Brooke, and I stayed at the election.
Yeah.
And he wrote the news story as well.
Yeah.
So that's part of this package. So this is actually best use of multimedia. This is for the entire package. There was also a video component that Casey, you've heard his name a couple of times, he went down and spoke with the president right after the election and got reaction from him. So we actually had multiple video clips, a animated information graphic, news content. Yeah, I mean it was just fantastic coverage. So I was really
and great
excited about
experience for all of you. So all in total, we won 6 first place awards that were going to go on to national and 5 second places. We started entering this competition a couple of years ago. It's the American Copy Editors Society, called ACES. And they have a category for students that's just called the student and staff, I guess is what it's called. And last year, for some of you who were here, we won Matt Rooney for his collection of headlines for his Rooney's Reviews. It was the first time in the history of this organization that a two-year college student had ever won. So this year, we submitted several people instead of one. We had several people, and we took third place in the nation. First place went to the University of North Carolina. Does that sound right? Okay. Second was Baylor. See, I told you it would come back again, right? And I mean, you know, I would love for you to look at this online, because when you look online, this is done by circulation. So it starts out over 200,000. So first place, I believe, went to the LA Times. I think it was second place.
Can't recall, but
you know, it was
big-
LA Times.
big
You know,
names.
New York Times, you know, all three of those, you know, then it keeps getting smaller, and it keeps working down. As you're scrolling on the screen, keep going, and you finally get Laramie County Community College. It starts with like New York Times, and ends with Laramie County Community College. So I think that's kind of exciting. And the judges mentioned a few of our.
And the rest of the nation is saying, who are these guys?
Yeah. And this was some of the headlines that we
This is a competition that Roz cleans up in every year, but we really like the comment that we got this year. And the contest coordinator said, you had some tough competition this year, but Wingspan is looking terrific, especially that special section, and that would be the one we did last spring. It was, again, heavily awarded. So we, of course, were very lucky to have Roz, but this isn't the only honor that she got this year. It was my pleasure to actually nominate Roz for this award, and then I actually nominated her like 2 years ago, and they never even responded to me. It's like nothing actually even came back to me, and then about I guess it would be a little less than a year ago, Roz finally was contacted, and actually some other people in the room helped me with this. Kathleen wrote a letter as part of that effort. So, but Roz was actually recognized, and I can't remember exactly where it's the first two-year school.
It's the first time that anyone in like Montana, Colorado, Utah, Wyoming, New Mexico, from a 2-year or a 4-year school has ever won the award. This is really an East Coast, West Coast thing, you know. So.
And there's 2 awards they give out. One is for advisors who have been with an institution for a while, like Roz has, and then there's some one for newer people. And they only give out a couple in each category each year, so it's, I mean, it really is fairly prestigious.
So did you beat Baylor?
Yeah, I don't know.
More than 43 years ago, I started with college media as editor-in-chief of the Daily Skiff at TCU in Fort Worth, Texas. We set our copy on an old linotype machine and hand set all headlines 24 points and above by pulling blocks of type from drawers. It was the middle of the Vietnam War, so we had a lot to cover. I remember I sent a telegram, no, not a tweet, to President Nixon asking him to take me on his trip to China as a student journalist. He didn't answer. And it's when I attended my first national convention, just like this one. So I hope you understand how very humbled and honored I am today to receive this College Media Association Distinguished 2-Year Newspaper Advisor Award. I never planned to be a teacher, yet I'm serving in my 37th year teaching journalism and advising student media. When I arrived at Laramie County Community College in Cheyenne, Wyoming, the department had 2 manual typewriters. Soon the newsroom was filled with electric ones, although they were not correctable. And students set type on one CompuGraphic machine and pasted up the student newspaper Wingspan on light tables. In 1985, when we started desktop publishing, our 286 computers were so slow, students could hand edit copy at the same time. Now we boast a state-of-the-art newsroom, have published online for almost 20 years, and operate a TV station. However, nothing's really changed, especially at a community college. From semester to semester. So, what's the key to advising? I simply set almost impossibly high standards for the staff, and then empower them. And you know, they will always rise to those standards
This is
and
almost
higher.
impossibly.
I know, right?
We have established a tradition. As I record this, Wingspan staffers just finished their first edition of the fall semester. 4 in the morning, sheltered in place,
Yeah,
working
no,
through a
that's not.
raging 1,000-year rainstorm that left parts of the Front Range of the Rockies flooded and isolated. But oh God, this is so much fun.
I feel like you should have a media award for that.
Jay doesn't know about this, but Jay,
But that's a good photo.
This Friday, Jay's going to get the Faculty of the Year award for the Arts and Humanities Division. And I'm really part of the reason he's getting it. Remember the old movies when Mickey Rooney and Judy Garland would shout, "Hey gang, let's put on a show." The students, Jay has become a Pied Piper of sorts, encouraging them to be part of the broadcasting efforts without pay and without college credit. He gets people to give up their evenings and their Saturdays. His excitement is contagious even to other staff and faculty who have contributed time, talent, and their budgets to make programming happen. Everyone is learning together and contributing in small positive ways that together culminate in the production. Jay's can-do attitude makes everyone around him want to work harder for the greater. Thank you. Jay? I will be quick with this one. Now these are some surprise awards that you guys don't know about. We had a student named Christy Barkhurst who was an online editor. She was our first multimedia major who actually worked on Wingspan Online and really kind of made that.
She was a co-editor, actually.
Yeah, yeah. And so she made that, that transition. And Christy could just do wonders with anything in Photoshop and Illustrator and so forth. She was killed in a horse riding accident, and her family has established this award for those who make magic.
And this year, our Magic Award goes to Dan Herring, who is unfortunately not here today, but Dan not only is a tremendous photographer, but just works very hard to, he starts with a plan, envisions what he wants something to look like, and then works tirelessly until it's done. And we have some examples of his designs on the next slide. And of course, a couple of those you've seen and recognized that Dan's won quite a few awards for his work. The hard work does pay off.
And there's a cash scholarship that also goes along.
And a beautiful plaque that'll be up for that.
Kenny Van Dyke was, I had Kenny back in this, actually in the early 80s. And she was...
As a student.
As a student, yeah. And then later she came back and her husband had gone off to, he was in the Air Force and they had with deployment. And so she came back and learned HTML and online stuff. She was loved investigative reporting, was a newswoman here in town, working at radio stations. She worked at the newspaper and
Cheyenne Network.
yeah, she died very young and way too young. And we give this outstanding investigative reporting award. And this year, and this carries a cash prize as well. And this year it's going to go to Ike.
Yeah. All right. We have a couple of things, of course. Ike is going to be
I know.
forever enshrined on the Wall of Fame
Yeah.
on the Candy Van
And-
Award.
And I love, I love the picture on the right, don't you? This is
Maddie
with
took
his
that
son.
too.
I took that.
Yeah, I know. And,
Oh,
Ironically, we did not know he was in this award when we made his award. This is
And
completely.
I know,
a pair of bookends
Yeah.
as well. So
Really, yeah.
personalized.
Yeah.
Wow.
And if you just looked at the one of the last issues, I mean, he covered the murder trial, he covered the evacuation of the dorm, he did a story with the legislature. I mean, there were things that he covered in one issue that four-year students don't even do in one whole career, you know? So we are just really, really pleased. And I think we have some of the things that he's covered just recently.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Don't worry about the headlines,
Ellie Field, I've known Ellie for, decades, and Ellie was a longtime newswoman. She had worked at the Times-Picayune, she had worked at Casper and Cheyenne as well. And she later came out to the college and was our publications editor for many years. Loved photography, also loved her horse as well, and rode in parades and that kind of thing. And so the LA Field in Focus Award has been established.
This year we went a slightly different direction. We've always looked just at photography, but we had a student who does really great video work and also has really grown as a photographer this year as well. Dimitri has... The other students had said before, just like the editors had said before, I mean, he really, he puts himself into projects. He really, there's not a lot that I think that he can't do. He's a really bright young man, and when he wants to do something, he makes it happen. The only problem is we have to figure out how to make his video spots a little bit shorter. He still doesn't understand 90-second news spots, so. And we have a nice pair of bookends for Dimitri as well.
And one short story is that we almost lost him when he had to cover something in the arena. You guys
Well, you'll have
got
to-
an asthma attack.
Yeah, that's right. It almost killed him, but he's really developing.
And so I just think Ellie died a couple of years ago, and Ellie would just think this is hysterical. I think that he would almost die taking pictures of horses in the arena.
But as you can see, there really are great shots. I mean, he's just this semester just developed really well in his understanding of still photography. In fact, one of the first shots we had in the semester, he shot a basketball game. He was shooting video and stills, and he came back and he told me, "None of my shots are any good. I don't know how to shoot photography for sports." And I'm going through and looking at the shots, and just because he's a video guy, he accidentally got what we call a panning shot, where the shutter speed was slow, and because he's a video guy, he follows action. And so he actually accidentally got a panning shot, which a lot of photographers will try for a very long time to get a panning shot and can't do it.
And this comes with a cash award too. So.
What?
Yeah. We have, Louis E. Bates was a longtime editor of the Wyoming State Tribune, and his family established a scholarship in his name. And if they wanted to go to someone who's interested in reporting and that kind of thing. So this year, Ike has won that award as well.
Oh, Mike, you're showing off.
Oh, yeah, it'll be a cash thing and yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
We have
sorry.
other stuff, but
Yeah.
we need to move faster along. Sorry.
Yeah. And
There's
also,
about 8 minutes
the
left of
funny part
battery.
of this picture is that I've always dressed to the
That's right.
nines. The day the mayor is in the office.
My wife actually pointed that out and asked me
Yeah.
about it, and I hadn't planned on coming in
Yeah.
that night, but the
Yeah.
mayor was going to be here.
Yeah, so anyway, we thought that was funny. And then my husband and I established a scholarship a long time ago, and we're giving it to 2 people this year, Brooke and Vicki. And can you believe we got a picture of both of you like that? So, and that's just
She
because.
wasn't very happy with
Yeah.
me for taking
Yeah.
leave.
Yeah. And we just give it to people that are really deserving of it, we certainly is. Paul Jordan was an editor of Wingspan many years ago, and he gave $100,000. He died at 52, had a heart attack, and he had given $100,000 endowment to the department. This was at the time the single largest gift that the LCCC Foundation had ever received. We usually use it for scholarships, but
You can use it for two
yeah.
things.
But Paul also loved photography, and so this year we used it for equipment and
In the fall, the editor's camera, an old 30D, finally gave up the ghost. The shutter trigger started malfunctioning. Yeah, we did. So we actually used the Paul Jordan money this year to buy a 60 for the students to use.
Which is really nice.
And a little plug for the LCCC Foundation. Your name can go here. We have 2 scholarships that we are working on endowment. One is the Wyoming Media Professionals Award for Leadership. It is now endowed, and it will sit for a year, and we'll award it next year. And then Jay and I established the Wyoming Cover Porter Award, and we're working on endowment. We have matching funds from the state as we're going forward. And so if you've got a few dollars, you can give back to the department. Or when you guys get that great media job, you can come back and support people here. Then we have our Journalist of the Year. This is the highest award, Brooke, that we give out. And this year, yeah, I got to get my hands. This is Brooke asking a question of Hoda Kotb of NBC News. You know, she just, when you think how young Brooke really is.
I was just thinking about that.
I know, but we're going to be seeing her name in lights somewhere, aren't we? And I have to tell you, you know, Kathleen, how they're always talking about completion rates.
Oh, yeah.
We have a small problem with Brooke. She hasn't completed high school yet.
Oh, dear.
She's going to complete this year, though.
Yeah.
She's going to complete high
So,
school.
as you guys know,
So-
she is going to be, she's homeschooled, and part of her homeschooling is to take classes at LCCC, and she's going to take the GED this summer. So,
Or
we
high
can,
school,
yeah, yeah, exactly. So, anyway, we just, and your name will go on this plaque forever.
I didn't read that in the story.
I was shocked too.
And I think that goes with that too. We should say.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's okay.
Well,
Yeah, cool, yeah. And we just want to mention Dan Herring was our online editor this fall. I'm going to go through these a little bit quicker here. Okay. You want to do that?
Yes, Stephanie, of course we had downfall. He actually had some health issues and he couldn't continue with us, and Stephanie stepped in and did a really nice job. She was in my computer graphics class, and I knew that she was strong with visual design, but she didn't have a lot of expertise anywhere else, and she came in baptism by fire, and I learned a lot of new things, and we're still trying to get her to write subheads and headlines, but she's done a really nice job, jumped into all kinds of things.
And I love this picture of her. It reminds me how I see her in a board meeting, because she's so short, and being able to see the camera. that
Who's
she's-
the jerk who put that
Yes,
thing on an
smaller.
8-foot tripod?
It's a normal size tripod.
And of course, we have some of our editors from last year, and there's something for you to pick up from here.
Okay.
And then our editors this semester, we want to thank both Brooke and Daniel stepping in at the last moment. What a great. He was in my desktop publishing the class and said, "I'll give it a try," and we're just so grateful for him. He's just been a great thing. And then our office help, we have to talk about them. We've got some things that we're going to hand out to you guys. But Debbie, we had no picture of you.
That's okay.
I could not find it.
That's okay.
But I have to tell you, here's another completion story. Debbie started at LCCC in
I think it was 1992.
1992. Life intervened, marriage,
6 kids.
babies, you know, those kind of things. She finished her degree in December of this year.
stuff too in her file.
I still have it.
She did.
I did. I still have her file. Yeah. And we've got some for you too.
Thank you, Ron.
Okay.
Thanks, Jen.
And Daniel's going to be one of our co-editors next year. We're still looking for others if anybody's interested. So, don't you love this picture?